I have 3 points that I think boil down the entire debate and really demonstrate why an affirmative ballot is warranted. The first thing I need to address is that equity and freedom are different concepts. Now, they might be, my opponent's saying they serve the same function essentially, however, they are separate things, indicating that one can be valued above the other. This means that even if whether they are in conflict or not in conflict, we as people can choose which to value above the other, simply like vanilla and flour in a recipe. They're not in conflict, but because they are different things, even though they're working together, you can value one above the other. I'm indicating that freedom should be valued above equity because it is a different concept, and I'll be presenting my 2 reasons for it in just a moment. This next point that I believe is important is the second argument, is that freedom is inherently limited. That means it's not limited for other outside values. It's limited for itself, meaning that the answer to increase freedom for everyone is you value freedom more, not less. Again, what I'm discussing here, freedom operates from a negative definition, indicating that you do not restrict other people. Freedom isn't operating from a positive definition where you create it, rather it exists naturally, and the way it's protected is simply by being respected. It's protected when other individuals are not violating another individual's freedom. This means that equity doesn't create freedom, it doesn't limit freedom, rather the more you value freedom, the more other people's rights are protected because the more people choose not to violate each other's rights. Meaning that the more you value freedom, not the less you value freedom, the better rights are protected. That's an incredibly important point to consider when you're marking your ballot. The last thing that I really need to address, I believe is really important, is how freedom is created, how equity is created. Justice is not necessarily a natural concept. I want to point out what my opponent has said about it. It's respecting or protecting equal individual rights. Protection is an active action. It's something that has to be done. So, how do we result from that? We prevent injustices. In other words, we prevent rights abuses. Justice results from the protection of rights, from stopping rights abuses. That means that as long as there aren't abuses of rights, as long as there aren't injustices, justice is therefore the consequence taking place. So if we value freedom, and we're not abusing each other's rights because freedom is inherently the core of freedom and other people's rights, then justice is a natural consequence. That's what I'm really discussing here. Therefore, my opponent's side of the resolution, based on their analysis, is a direct consequence of my own under his definition of interpretation. The last thing I need to point out is my opponent's definition actually is not from Business Dictionary, it's from Merriam-Webster. The other different definition he's talking about is from Business Dictionary, is a subjective definition that doesn't have the objective definition he was discussing. Therefore, we should still choose mine because it is a definition of equity from an economic source, therefore is indicating that his other resolution does include rights abuses. For these, I guess, 4 basic reasons, please vote for the affirmative.